On November 9th, 1965, at 5:27 in the evening, a faulty relay near Niagara Falls plunged 30 million people across 8 states into darkness. 800,000 New Yorkers were trapped in subway tunnels. Hospitals went to candles. In a row house in Buffalo, a 71-year-old man named Walter Kerrig walked down to his cellar. He lit a kerosene lamp he had trimmed that morning. He brought up a quart of stew from the cold shelf. He warmed it on a wood stove he had never let go cold in 40 years. His neighbors stood in their kitchens holding flashlights with dead batteries. Walter sat at his table and ate a hot meal. He had not noticed the blackout until his daughter called an hour later. His hands knew what to do before the lights ever went out. We did not lose these skills because they stopped working. We lost them because the lights stayed on too long. We forgot what to do when they did not. Every comfort in a modern American home runs through a single thin wire. That wire arrives from somewhere we have never seen. It is managed by people we have never met. It can fail from a storm, a tree, a relay we have never heard of. Our grandfathers built lives that did not collapse when the wire failed. We built lives that cannot stand without it. That trade looked free for a long time. The bill arrives the moment the power does not. Number 22 on this list kept an entire family fed for 4 days during the 2003 blackout. It used nothing but a hole in the ground and what was already in it. Number 14 was standard knowledge for every farm wife in America. It is now so forgotten that during the 2021 Texas freeze, hundreds died trying to do it the modern way with grills and car engines. And number 1, the simplest skill on this list, is the one that separated the people who slept warm during Winter Storm Uri from the 246 Texans who did not. These 25 skills were not hobbies. They were the operating system of a household that did not depend on anyone. When the wire failed, the house kept working. When the store closed, the family kept eating. That independence has a name now. It is called preparedness. We sell it in plastic buckets. It used to be called living. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down the 25 forgotten fix-it skills that become survival knowledge the moment the power goes out. Number 25, trimming and lighting a kerosene lamp. This was the last task of every evening in rural America before the wires arrived. An untrimmed wick meant a black ceiling by midnight. You cut the wick flat across with sewing scissors, never angled, always flat. You filled the brass font to the shoulder of the neck. You lit the wick low, then raised the flame to the height of a thumbnail. Any taller, and the chimney blackened. For a farm family in central Iowa in 1928, this was the difference between a usable evening and a wasted one. The skill survived until the Rural Electrification Act reached their roads in the late 1940s. It then disappeared inside one generation. The lamp still works. The hands that knew it do not. Number 24, banking a wood fire to last the night. You raked the coals into a single hot bed against the back wall. You laid one large unsplit round of seasoned oak across them. You closed the damper to a thread. The fire did not burn. The fire waited. At 5 in the morning, the coals were still alive. The kitchen was still warm. For a coal miner's wife in West Virginia in 1934, who rose before her husband, a banked fire meant breakfast was already starting itself. 40 million American homes ran on this skill in 1900. Today, most homeowners cannot light a fire from cold wood. They certainly cannot keep one alive through a night. Number 23, pumping water by hand from a shallow well. You primed the cylinder by pouring a cup of water down the throat of the pump. You worked the handle in long, even strokes. You felt the resistance change when the column of water rose. The first water came up cold and clean. For a Nebraska homestead in 1905, the pump was the most important piece of metal on the property. Without it, the family walked. The Rural Electrification Act of 1936 began the slow disappearance of the hand pump. By 1970, it was nearly gone from American yards. During every major blackout since, the homes that still had one were the only homes that still had water. Number 22, storing food in a root cellar. You dug 10 feet into a north-facing slope. You lined the walls with creek stones. You laid potatoes on dry sand. You hung onions in mesh from the ceiling joists. 10 feet down, the earth holds steady at 55 degrees year-round. No compressor, no current, no permission. For a Vermont farm wife in 1942, feeding 8 children through the long winter, the root cellar was the entire food system from October to May. During the 2003 Northeast blackout, grocery stores threw away millions of pounds of spoiled food. Every family with a root cellar lost nothing. The earth had been refrigerating for them since before refrigerators existed. Number 21. Cooking on a wood stove. You loaded the firebox with split hardwood. You opened the damper until the steel top rang under your knuckles. You slid the cast iron skillet over the hottest plate. You moved it toward the cool end as the food finished. There was no dial. There was a hand held over the surface. There was a count of seconds before the heat drove it away. A Kansas farm mother in 1937 cooked 3 meals a day on a stove that had no instructions printed anywhere on it. During the Texas freeze of 2021, more than 150 deaths involved carbon monoxide from grills brought indoors. The wood stove was already inside. We forgot how it worked. Number 20. Sharpening a knife on a whetstone. You set the stone on a damp cloth. You laid the blade flat at 20 degrees. You drew it across the surface from heel to tip in long, even strokes, the same number on each side. You counted them out loud. A truly sharp knife shaves the hair on the back of your hand. A dull knife is the most dangerous tool in any house. Every American hardware store in 1948 sold whetstones for under $1. Every Boy Scout in the country could sharpen a blade by the age of 12. Most American kitchens today contain knives that have never been sharpened. In a blackout, when you are cutting by lamplight, dull steel is how people lose fingers. Number 19. Splicing rope and tying load-bearing knots. You learned the bow line first. It never slips and it never jams. The clove hitch held a tarp. The taut line hitch tensioned a guy rope. The square knot joined 2 equal lines. A Nebraska farmhand in 1922 could tie any of 6 knots in the dark behind his back. After the 2021 ice storm in Texas, men stood in their yards looking at fallen tree limbs draped over their roofs. They did not know how to tie the rope that would pull them clear. The knot is not complicated. It is just no longer taut. The rope still works. Nobody told the rope it was obsolete. Number 18. Cleaning a chimney from inside the house. You tied a weighted brush to a length of rope. You dropped it down the flue from the roof. You worked it up and down until the creosote rained into the firebox below. A clogged chimney is the leading cause of house fires when a wood heater is pressed into emergency service. A Pennsylvania coal country grandmother in 1939 cleaned her chimney twice a year without thinking about it. After Texas froze in 2021, hundreds of families lit fireplaces that had not been cleaned in 20 years. They filled their houses with smoke, and worse. The chimney did not change. The maintenance simply stopped being practiced. Number 17. Reading the weather without a phone. You watched the cattle lie down before a storm. You read the ring around the moon as rain within 36 hours. You felt the pressure drop in your jaw before the front arrived. For a Montana rancher in 1931, a missed weather sign meant a herd lost in an open pasture. The 2021 Texas freeze killed people who did not know it was coming. Their phones went dark. The warnings stopped arriving. The sky had been telling them for 3 days. Nobody had taught them how to listen. We outsourced the oldest sense a human animal possesses. The people who still have it can be counted by hand. There are men and women alive in this country right now who lived through the 1965 blackout in lamplight. They never lost a beat. They cooked dinner. They read the paper. They went to bed at the usual time. For them, it was an inconvenience, not an emergency. Their houses were already built to run without electricity for most of their lives. They were born in the 1920s, the 1930s, and the early 1940s. They are in their 80s and 90s now. When they die, the last living link to a country that knew how to function in the dark dies with them. Not the information. You can find the information. The instinct. The calm that comes from having done it 10,000 times. That is leaving us at the rate of about 10,000 funerals a day. Almost nobody is sitting in those workshops with a notebook before the door closes. Number 16, storing rainwater for emergency use. You set a galvanized barrel beneath the downspout. You fitted a fine screen across the top to keep mosquitoes and leaves out. You drew off the bottom through a brass spigot when the kitchen pump failed. A single inch of rain on a 1,000-square-foot roof yields 600 gallons. For a Texas farm family in 1956, with a dry summer ahead, rain caught in March kept the garden alive in July. During the 2021 freeze, water pipes burst across the state and municipal systems failed. The homes with rain barrels were the homes that still had something to flush a toilet with. The sky had not changed. The roof had not changed. Only the habit had been forgotten. Number 15, repairing a hand tool handle. You found a straight piece of hickory in the woodlot. You shaved it down with a draw knife to the rough shape. You fitted it to the head with a single hardwood wedge-driven cross-grain. You worked it smooth with sandpaper or a piece of broken glass. Between 1900 and 1950, every American hardware store carried replacement handles by the dozen. Every farmer hung his own. A Tennessee farmer in 1944 made hammer handles, axe handles, and shovel handles that outlasted factory replacements by years. After any prolonged outage, when the hardware store is closed and the broken handle is the difference between cutting firewood and freezing, this skill stops being quaint. It becomes the reason the house stays warm. The hickory is still growing. The draw knife is still in somebody's barn. Number 14, curing meat with salt and smoke. You rubbed coarse salt into every surface of the ham. You packed it in a wooden box for 6 weeks, turning it daily. You hung it in a smokehouse over a slow hickory fire for another month. The meat lasted a year without refrigeration. For a North Carolina mountain family in 1936, 20 hams in November meant the family ate through July without buying meat. During the 2003 blackout, refrigerator and freezer losses ran into the hundreds of millions of dollars across the Northeast. Cured meat would have lost nothing. The skill is not gone. It has been zoned, licensed, and inspected out of the average kitchen. The smoke still works the same way it always did. Number 13, patching a leaking pipe with a rag and twine. You wrapped a strip of cloth tightly around the leak. You soaked it with melted candle wax. You lashed the whole thing down with waxed twine, pulled hand tight until the wrap was solid. The patch held until a real repair was possible, sometimes for years. For a coal country plumber's apprentice in 1951 in Pittsburgh, this was the first emergency skill he learned. During the 2021 Texas freeze, burst pipes flooded thousands of homes. Every plumber was booked 4 weeks out. This 20-cent repair would have stopped the water in 8 minutes. Nobody knew it existed. The pipe did not need a plumber, it needed a rag. Number 12, making a candle from scrap wax and string. You melted old candle ends in a tin can set in simmering water. You dipped a length of cotton string repeatedly into the wax. You let it cool between dips. You built up the candle one layer at a time. Every American household between 1850 and 1930 saved wax stubs in a tin specifically for this purpose. A Massachusetts farm wife in 1933 never bought a candle in her life. After every modern blackout, candle prices spike at the few stores still open. The skill that produced unlimited light from kitchen waste has been completely forgotten. The wax is still in the trash. The string is still in the sewing box. Only the knowledge of how to put them together has gone missing. Number 11, fixing a broken window with materials on hand. You measured the opening. You cut a piece of heavy plastic or oiled paper a few inches larger on every side. You tacked it to the frame with carpet tacks driven through wooden lath strips. The repair was weather-tight within 20 minutes. During the Great Depression, the Federal Writers Project documented this exact technique in homes across the rural South. A widow in Georgia patched her own windows with whatever was at hand. She never once called for help. After a winter storm takes out windows, every hour a hole stays open is an hour of heat leaving the house. The materials cost almost nothing. The skill costs nothing. The absence of it has cost American families uncounted millions in storm damage and frozen pipes. Number 10, heating a single room when the whole house cannot be heated. You hung wool blankets across every doorway to seal off a single room. You moved the family in with the wood stove or kerosene heater. You shut the rest of the house down until the storm passed. A Minnesota homestead in 1936 survived 40 below winters this way every year. During the 2021 Texas freeze, families tried to heat their entire homes from a single fireplace. They froze in their bedrooms. The technique is older than the country itself. You do not heat the house. You heat the people. Everything else is a luxury you can recover when the lights come back on. Number 9, carrying water safely uphill in 2 buckets. You filled both buckets to the same level. You hooked them through a wooden shoulder, yoke carved to fit the curve of your neck. You walked with your knees soft and your back straight. The yoke distributed 40 pounds across your shoulders. Your arms stayed free for balance. A New Hampshire farm girl in 1924 carried water from the spring 4 times a day from the age of 9. After modern blackouts knock out municipal pumps, families try to carry water in plastic milk jugs. The jugs cut the hands and spill at every step. The yoke is in the antique store. The technique died with the people who used it. In February of 2021, Winter Storm Uri killed an estimated 246 Texans by the state's official count. A study by independent researchers put the true number above 700. Most did not die from the cold directly. They died from carbon monoxide poisoning while running gas grills indoors. They died of hypothermia in cars they had started for heat. They died because the gap between flipping a thermostat and surviving a 4-day power outage turned out to be the entire body of practical knowledge their grandparents had taken for granted. In 1950, the average American household spent approximately $0 per year on professional home repair. In 2023, that number was over $3,000. A 2024 survey found that 38% of Americans cannot perform a single basic home repair. The houses did not get harder to fix. The people inside them lost the ability to try. A blackout simply revealed what was already true. Number 8. Manually flushing a toilet without running water. You poured a gallon of water directly into the bowl from a bucket, fast enough to trigger the siphon. The waste went down without any tank or pump or municipal pressure involved at all. The toilet does not actually need electricity. It needs a gallon of water and gravity. During every major blackout since 1965, sanitation has been one of the fastest things to fail in cities. It has been one of the slowest to be restored. A 1958 housewife who had grown up with an outhouse knew the bucket trick the first time her water failed. Most modern homeowners stand staring at a non-flushing toilet for 3 hours before anyone tells them. Number 7. Starting a fire without matches. You shaved a curl of birch bark. You struck steel against flint until a spark fell into a small nest of dry tinder. You blew gently on the ember until it took. An Adirondack guide in 1908 could have a fire going in under a minute with nothing more than a knife and a piece of flint in his pocket. After the 2003 blackout, lighters and matches sold out across the Northeast within hours. The skill that worked for 10,000 years was abandoned for a plastic device. That device depends on a fuel supply chain. Flint is everywhere. Steel is in every kitchen drawer. The willingness to learn before you need to is what has gone missing. Number 6. Preserving milk and eggs without refrigeration. You stored fresh eggs in a crock of mineral oil or pickling lime. They kept for 9 months unrefrigerated. Fresh milk you scalded, strained, and set in a covered jar in a stream or springhouse. Running water held it at 50 degrees for 4 days. A Wisconsin dairy family in 1925 never owned an icebox. They never lost a quart of milk. When refrigerators fail in a long outage, every gallon of milk and dozen eggs in the house spoils within 36 hours. The methods that prevented that loss for a century are sitting unused in pantry books that nobody reads. Number 5. Mending clothing and gear with needle and thread. You doubled a length of strong cotton thread. You knotted it. You worked a tight running stitch along the tear. You added a backstitch every 4th pass to lock the seam. A small tear became a small repair. A small repair became a garment that lasted another 5 years. For a Brooklyn tenement mother in 1931, mending was done every Sunday after church without exception. In a long outage, when stores are closed and clothing is being pressed into harder service than usual, the family that can repair its own coats stays warm longer. The needle costs 5 cents. The skill costs an evening of practice. The absence of it costs entire wardrobes. Number 4. Making soap from ash and fat. You poured water through a barrel of hardwood ashes to draw off lye. You rendered fat from cooking scraps in a slow pot. You combined them in careful proportions and stirred until the mixture traced. The soap cured for 6 weeks and lasted a household for a year. A Tennessee mountain woman in 1934 made every bar of soap her family used. During modern outages, when supply chains break and store shelves empty within hours, the household that can produce its own soap from kitchen waste does not run out. The ash is still in the firebox. The fat is still in the pan. Only the knowledge has been thrown away. Number 3. Repairing a leaking roof in an emergency. You climbed up in dry weather between storms. You located the wet spot in the attic. You traced it up the rafter to the actual leak. You pressed a square of roofing tar, or even folded canvas over the gap. You waited with a brick until the next dry day. A Depression-era homeowner did this himself without question. During the 2021 Texas freeze, frozen and burst gutters caused interior water damage in tens of thousands of homes. The wait for a roofer ran into months. The temporary patch is not a permanent solution. It is what keeps the house dry until the permanent solution becomes possible. We forgot the difference. Number 2, keeping a working toolbox that does not need electricity. Hand drill, hand saw, hammer, screwdrivers, pliers, adjustable wrench, chisel, file, whetstone. With those 10 tools and the knowledge of how to use them, a 1955 American man could repair 80% of what broke in his own home. It did not matter whether the power was on or off. By 2024, the average American man owns 4 cordless power tools. They do nothing when the battery is dead. The hand tools still work in any weather, in any blackout, in any emergency, forever. They are sitting in the basements of dead grandfathers. They are waiting for somebody to pick them up again. Number 1, knowing where everything in your house is by touch, in the dark. That is the entire skill. The match drawer, the candle shelf, the lamp on the mantel, the shut-off valve under the sink, the breaker box on the back wall, the well pump switch, the first aid kit, the wool blankets in the cedar chest. Your grandmother could walk through her house at midnight in a power outage. She could put her hand on any one of those items inside 10 seconds. She knew where things were because she had put them there for a reason. She had thought about the dark before it arrived. The 246 Texans who died in February 2021 did not die because they lacked equipment. They died because nobody in the household had walked the rooms in the dark even once before it mattered. The skill is free. It takes one evening. It can save your life. None of these skills required a degree. None required a credit card. None required the grid. They required something simpler and almost extinct. The assumption that a power outage was not an emergency but a Tuesday evening. The belief that a house and the people inside it should be capable of operating without anyone else's help for at least a week. That assumption built this country. It built the homes that survived the 1965 blackout in lamplight without complaint. It built the families that came through the long ice storms of the 1970s with the woodstove warm and the root cellar full. It is what we traded for the convenience of never having to think about any of it. Every major outage of the last 60 years has revealed the same quiet truth. The wire is fragile. The grid is fragile. The supply chain is fragile. The only thing that was ever really sturdy was the knowledge in the hands of the people who lived in the house. That knowledge is recoverable. It has not gone anywhere. It is sitting in workshops and pantries and root cellars and the memories of people in their 80s. They would tell you everything they know if you sat down with them for one afternoon. Start there. The lights will go out again. They always do. The only question is whether your hands know what to do before they come back on.